It is in the nature of every action figure collector to ask two very important questions. Who is this figure targeted towards? And is it worth buying? And that takes us out of the box and on to the table. Now we have decent spread of accessories, but what we're really here for is the figure. Now, before we really get into the figure, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Zenkai Zone for making this review possible. And as you can see with this collab, I'll leave the link to this in the description below. Click this link, and of course, when you go into your checkout, you can put the code BOMBASTIC5 to get 5% off your order, excluding shipping. Now, this 5% order does work on sales products like this, for example, Gamma 1, Qui, and things of that nature. This is just a small glimpse into the variety of different figures that this particular seller has. Now, something I will say, we're gonna go to view all products, and while that loads, I'll talk. This person that owns the store, this gentleman, he's based out of the Netherlands. So what that means is if you live in the UK, that's good because the shipping will be very minimal. Now, if you live in the US, I still think it's worth, coming to this page or this site and looking at it, but the shipping will be a bit more hefty. But I say it's still worth looking at because there's still some figures that will be considered fairly rare. I think even the Ultra Instinct Goku that I'm reviewing in this video is available here. So definitely, there we go, right there, just as I mentioned it. And as you can see, that kid, a bowl cut Gohan, is available too. We know that's a figure that hasn't been re-released. It hasn't been re-released, and this would probably go for a lot of the secondary market. I haven't checked the price for that particular figure, but definitely check this store out. Like I said, if it wasn't for this gentleman, this review wouldn't even be possible. But back to the review. So, kicking it off with this Ultra Instinct Goku, I wanted to quickly compare this with the first release, the OG release, And of course, the head sculpts are completely different, not even worth comparing, but I will talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. As far as the bodies go, the biggest differences I see are this. The boots are darker on the original release, and then the pants are darker on this release, so it has more of that. The original release has more the anime color scheme, where the orange has a lot more red to it. It's a darker orange, more saturated orange, where this release goes with more of the manga colors, of course, because it's the Toyotaro Goku, right? So it's gonna have more of that yellowish orange, if that's the best way I could think to put it, Other than that, of course, some subtle shading and things of that nature on the body or things like that that'll make it different. But of course, the biggest difference, as I just spoke of a few moments ago, is the head sculpt. And I don't think they're worth comparing, simply because they're trying to do two different things. Now, if you just want an Ultra Instinct figure and you don't really care, then I think you're much better off just getting the standard release. This is for the avid collector, and that's something I mentioned in the beginning of the video. As a collector, who is this for, and what is the appeal? This is meant, I think, for the avid collector, the completionist, the person that's like a super fan of Dragon Ball, because this is very specific. For example, if I don't like Toyotaro's artwork, then this wouldn't appeal to me at all. And speaking of Toyotaro's artwork, I have to say, it would have been much cooler to get a figure of what is shown on the box based on that artwork than what we got here. Of course, this mold at this point in time is a bit dated, right? It's not something that you are super excited to get. Like I said, the main appeal of this particular release is the head sculpt, and the head sculpt looks pretty good. Now, one thing I will say before we move on to the accessories and faceplates and things of that nature is that straight up, the faceplates do not match each other. So if you wanted to use faceplates, let's say these faceplates with the other hair sculpt, they will not work. It does not fit. Okay, so let's move on to the accessories. For the face plates, what we have is, of course, his stern, stoic expression, looking forward, and then some eyes closed, which is pretty much quintessential for Goku on Ultra Instinct. You know, straightforward looking, gritting teeth face, looking off to the side face. Yet another one of those, you know, more subtle, I think, facial expressions that go great for Ultra Instinct or Super Saiyan God, really. And a yelling face, which I would say doesn't really go with the theme of Ultra Instinct, but he definitely yells during Ultra Instinct, so you got that. And of course, you also get a windswept here, you know, blowing backwards as if he's, you know, either flying forward or shooting a Kamehameha. I'm not about to do separate slides for all of that, so here you go. I'm just going to show you a collage of all the faces on that particular hair sculpt. And then, of course, we have our standard hands. Now, relatively speaking, this is a bare bones release in terms of accessories for the figure, but as per usual, fist hand, martial arts kind of foes hand, Kamehameha hands, open palm hands, and that does it. That's, like I said, very minimal. You don't get a whole lot in terms of accessories for this particular release. The other release had at least, you know, the Kamehameha effect, and I believe they came with instant transmission hands, which, you know, most Gokus come with, but not this one. Now, the big difference here is that this figure comes with the S.H.Figuarts encyclopedia. I'm not about to go through every single page in that book. I'll probably do that in a separate video if you guys would like, where I show that off, but I'll do a quick flip through. But yeah, I don't want to make this video, another 10 minutes long for no reason. But what we'll move on to is the articulation, which you should be fairly familiar with, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time there. Now for our good man, Ultra Instinct Goku. Articulation, like I said, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. Of course, front and back, side to side. As you can see, double jointed elbows and whatnot. And then, of course, the wrist hinge is a wrist hinge. I would say one thing that's important here is the QC on the head part, like that at the bottom of that neck is a bit loose. I wish it wasn't as loose as it is, but it's not to the point where I shake it and it's wobbling and whatnot. But back to the arm, you know, bicep swivel, go out like that. What else? Going across the chest is going to be pretty much, I'm not going to say non-existent, my bad. Let me get this situated, but you're not going to get a whole lot of like bringing the arms across the chest, but I'm sure with whatever updated Ultra Instinct Goku that they end up putting out, that'll be addressed. Of course, kicking front to back, that is one of the strengths of the 2.0 mold, as the fans colloquially call it. Double jointed knee. What else? Out to the side is decent, you know. Of course, now most of these Dragon Ball figures get a little bit more range than that. Just, I would say about 10%, 15% more range than that. Well, if you're a Goku figure, sometimes, you know, with the villains, if they don't think that the, is that necessary, the splits are that necessary, they won't give it. Either way, ankle rocker goes down that far. I feel like this part right here with going up and down has never been the best on a lot of these 2.0 era figures. Toe hinge. I've never felt, how do you successfully use a toe hinge? Well, I guess it has to be implemented properly, but either way, I don't want to be too long-winded at this portion of the video. Articulation is going to get the job done here. That's the main thing. Now for Goku's height, to the top of his forehead is about 5.5 inches. To the top of his hair, a little bit over 6, maybe 6.5 inches. So for size comparisons, real quick, we have the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, and of course on the other side we have Kong Studios Super Saiyan 3 body with the Air Studio Super Saiyan God head sculpt. And you know, the way I'm able to get it on, of course, is, well, one, it comes with a neck peg to put onto a Kong body, but two, we have my good man AFFM Customs to thank. Moving forward, we have the Dragon Ball Super Broly Vegeta. Now both of them are, the one with the blue hair, the Super Saiyan blue head sculpt on, is the original Tamashii release, and on the other side we have the Beast Deity dark blue spandex Vegeta, once again meant to be from Dragon Ball Super Broly. And of course, we have Broly himself from Dragon Ball Super Broly, full power Super Saiyan version and the regular Super Saiyan version. And last but most certainly not least, we have Jiren. And how could you not have a size comparison with Jiren? Because this is one of the main characters you'll probably want to pose him with if you're trying to recreate scenes. And of course, we have the demoniacal fit Super Saiyan Gogeta, and I do have a review for that, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. So, a couple bullet points to close this video out. Who is this for, if you're still unsure, and should you get it? The question you need to ask yourself is, do I just want an Ultra Instinct Goku figure in my collection? Or do I need this particular art style? If you just want an Ultra Instinct Goku figure, just get the general release or wait for the inevitable updated sculpt and articulation that Tamashi's gonna make, especially considering now that at this point in time that Super is coming back. So guaranteed you're gonna get an updated Ultra Instinct Goku. They already updated Super Saiyan God Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Now, of course, they're not out just yet, but they're coming out later this year. So keep that in mind. Also, you know, once again, like I said, it would have been real nice to get a figure of the artwork on the box with that sculpt rather than this reusable mold. But you know how they do. Got to get the most out of an old mold until, you know, they completely do away with it. But those are the main things I would say to consider for this. And like I said, secondary market prices could be brutal for something like this, you know? So, you know, I guess if you're the avid collector, you're going to keep it in box or something like that, it could be worth it for you to spend that extra money, because the avid collector knows that they're going to have to spend some money, that dinero, you know? But with all that being said, this has been Bombastic Plastic. If you liked this video, check this video out on the screen. I don't even know what's going to be there. But this has been Bombastic Plastic. Stay fantastic. Have a blessed day. Stay consistent.